What's up, C3AK? Pastor Tracy here. Things have been busy around the church these last few weeks as we've kicked off the new year, heading into February already. Just started our new sermon series last week with Pastor Jason, talking to us about staying near to God, prone to wander, from that great classic hymn, Come Thou Fount of Every Blessing. You can find it on the podcast, c3ak.com/podcast gets you there. You can find it on video or in audio. Me personally, the last few weeks I've spent, I don't know how many hours at the church, just every day working to get finally our sound system switched over to the new equipment that many of you know about, where we had to replace all of our wireless microphones, and we had some great participation with grants from the Alaska Baptist Convention and some personal donations from some folks to help us accomplish that. And that was all part of also the big lighting project, the theatrical lighting project, which right now, as I'm talking to you, our engineer extraordinaire, Nate LaValle, is putting in the final phases of that project with some lighting directly over the top of the stage that will replace the old floodlights that have been there since the church was built. And as all of that is happening, our very own Sam Strumpler and myself have been working with about 15 cast members in our upcoming production of Little Shop of Horrors, coming at the last 2 weekends of March. It's going to be a fantastic show. These kids are so talented, and it's a timely show. It talks about greed, domestic violence, the thirst for power, self-image, all these kinds of things. It's a timely message for the world we're living in right now, I'll tell you that. And I'm looking forward to that coming online here pretty soon. Going back to our sermon series, this series that we're in right now, Deep Roots for a Stormy Life, is going to take us pretty much right up to the beginning of March, and then we're going to kick over into a new series that's going to take us right to Easter Sunday in April 21st. That is a series going to be called Who is Jesus? The 7 I Am statements of Jesus that we find in the Gospels in the book of John, where Jesus tells us who he is in some very specific ways and how that relates to us in the world and his desire to have a relationship with us. And so I want you to be looking forward to that. It's going to be a great time. We're trying to incorporate some more special music and media, maybe some drama, some film into those weeks, and kind of making a push to kind of elevate those Sundays to make them even more meaningful to you and to people that you might invite. And then that's really the last thing I'd like to tell you about is be inviting people to come to church with you. It's kind of weird. People ask me sometimes, how's the church doing? How's attendance doing? And I have to say, I don't really know. We count most Sundays. And so here's a little inside baseball for Christ Community Church people. A few weeks ago, we had over 100 people. And then the next week, we had literally half that number. And then the week after, we hit somewhere like in the middle of that, somewhere around 70. And then it's just like this all the time. It's hard to plan for. It's hard to staff children's ministry sometimes because we don't know how many kids we're actually going to have. And look, there's a lot of factors that go into that, right? The flu is really knocking people down right now. So wash your hands, stay safe, get your flu shot. Other things come up, family emergencies and travel and vacation and all that kind of stuff. So it's something that we just, as pastors and as church leaders, we kind of get used to dealing with that ebb and flow. But what can work best against that is if you're excited about your church and if you're excited about what God's doing in your life through your church, make those connections with people that you know, who are seeking, who are searching. Make connections with people you don't know and invite them to church as well. And we've talked about this a little bit before, but there's kind of this thing out there that is in our culture right now, and it's in our Christian culture that it's not really about the church. It's not really, I don't have to be involved in that local thing. I don't need to give to that local thing. I don't need to serve in that local expression of the church. And I got to tell you, not just because I'm a pastor, but because the Bible says it, that local collection, that local gathering of believers is the heartbeat of the church that Jesus called his bride. He said that this is how he was going to change the world, was through the church. And it wasn't just kind of that church, universal and worldwide, but it's the expression of those individual communities. And we see that in the New Testament as we see the letters that were written to places like the people in the Thessalonians and the Corinthians, and different places where guys were serving like James and Timothy, that these believers were meeting together in small groups, in large groups, together in homes, sometimes in other places in the public square, but they were meeting together, worshiping, singing songs, reading the scriptures, and teaching and preaching. And that continues today in our modern culture in the way in which we're trying to connect best with our culture. So there almost becomes this thing today where church is treated as an option or as a throw-off. And guys, it's not biblical. We kind of say to each other sometimes, church attendance twice a month is now regular church attendance. And it's not a slam, it's just kind of true. I wish it were different than that. It's hard to keep everybody kind of going in the same direction when it's not more than that. But life's busier than it's ever been in the history of the world, I think, too. And it makes things hard. There's a lot of things competing for our time. I want to encourage you to do this. Just be faithful whenever you can. Be faithful. If you have the opportunity to make a choice about whether you're going to be engaged with your local church, serving in your local church, giving at your local church, gathering with your local church, if you have a choice, make the choice for the church, because the church is the physical expression of the work of Christ on the planet today. And I want you to be a part of it. And I think some great things are happening at Christ Community Church. Come and join us. Be a part of what we're doing. Invite people to come with you. Those are the things that I want to put on your heart today. And I love you, and I'll see you soon. And God bless.